Hello and welcome to Sparking Hobbies. My name is Ben, and today I opened up my box of 2013 core set. Yay! I have already done a video on my rares that I opened. If you'd like to check out a video, you can follow the links or the annotations so provided to check out the video, what I thought of my box. But other than that, I would like to basically go over certain featured cards that I got in the uncommon and yay, uncommon and common slot that excited me. And so here we go. There were two cycles in Magic 13 that I was pretty excited about. Um, uh, at uncommon, you have basically have the sort of Kurt Ape cycle, where each creature will get a +1/+1 as long as you control a land of a different type. So this one cost obviously is in white and plains, but if you have a forest, it becomes a 4/4, and you can give it trample. And so each one comes with different abilities. This one's pretty good because you can make it a 3/3 unblockable. And there's also a rogue variant in Lauren block that I'm quite excited with because I have a rogue deck, tribal deck, and so I'm quite excited to add this guy. But yeah, all of them have different abilities, and I think the white one, the red one that has regenerate, and this one is definitely the best. Where it's a flyer, it becomes a 3/2 flyer for 3 with lifelink. It's just freaking awesome. And limited, it's amazing. So I was quite happy with those. They also came up with a cycle of rings. Each ring costs 2, it costs 1 to equip, and every turn they put a counter on it. Now, I have like pretty much a deck of every color that basically either uses counters or manipulation of counters to get an extra added benefit. So, and they're slower decks, so that I can basically go through a couple upkeeps and actually get the benefit of them. I guess the only disappointment was there wasn't one for Artifact, but I can understand how there wasn't, especially with things like Triskelion and things like that out there. But the red one has haste, the green one the blue one grants hexproof, which is actually quite good. And I have a blue unblockable deck. I'm uber excited about using it because I was using blades, I think, of Banshee blades, I think, to put counters and stuff. The white one is quite good because it has vigilance, and there's a lot of things that can use vigilance, so I was happy with that. Green one has trample, of course, and I'm really excited about the +1/+1 counters on this one because of spikes. I have a spike, feeder deck with spikes and uses counters that way. So I'm really happy about this. And black one, this is good in mixed black decks, obviously, because you regenerate creatures. So sometimes just having equipment that regenerates would be good. Same with the one with that hexproof, although there are other things that give hexproof that are a little bit more cost effective, but none of them that really have regenerated creatures before. So that's kind of new, and I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about this. It's a common that gives you 3 white 1/1 soldier tokens. It's all in one card. It costs 4, yeah, but hell, it gets you 3 creatures on the board, one card. It's an army in a box. It's wonderful. This is a reprint of something that was printed when they did free spells. You could basically untap 4 lands, and it doesn't have to be basic lands, so you can like do some shenanigans with that with lands that tap for multiple mana and counter target spell. This is awesome in control decks. I love this spell, and I'm not even a blue mage. This is really a lot of bang for your buck. It does 4 damage to target player and 1 damage to each creature it controls. There's a lot of creatures out there that cost they're basically 1 toughness, both in this set and in Innistrad block. So this is like a pretty good card. This is I'm really excited for it, and it's instant speed, so it's a little bit better than Pyroclasm in a lot of instances. Fogbank, there are all kinds of blue stall decks that can basically use this. I actually think that some of the blue cards that they added utility-wise in this particular block are little bit it'll make control even harder to deal with. So even though I appreciate Fogbank for something like my Dreamborn Muse deck or some of their mill deck, you can see these in like a lot of stall out decks, and so you're going to see this card not be fun. But I'm excited about it for my tinker around do nothing decks. Jace's Phantasm. If you've played Duels of the Planeswalkers 2013, they make a great use of example of Jace's Phantasm, and if you get 10 cards or more into an opponent's graveyard, this guy becomes a 5/5 flyer for 1, which is just awesome. So, uh, yeah, wouldn't mind having some more of those. Courtly Provocateur. Great card in limited. The fact that you can basically force blocks and kind of really regulate the combat step is really powerful. You simply drop down a 4/4 or a 3/3, and you start forcing, the 2/2 flyer to block, and it's all kinds of nastiness. This with a Sarah Angel in pretty much a limited format is a death sentence to like most decks in limited. So, this is quite a powerful card, and I'm interested to see what it'll do. Um, just for the people that I know that haven't really played around with forced combat before. Wild Guess is sorcery speed, but you discard a card, draw 2 cards. You're going to see a lot of use in this. I think that it's great that they basically gave red the utility it needs to sort of punch up some of the things that red did when it stalled out. Like fourth turn, fifth turn for a red deck wins deck is like, sort of a death knell in the sense that you're running out of cards in your hand and you just don't, you need to keep the gas going. And that's always been the problem with red is that, it just tends to run out of gas a lot of times. And I'm pretty excited about this card. Rancor. The reprinting of Rancor. I know a lot of people that are upset with this just because Rancor is like a $2 to $4 card and the fact that it got reprinted. But me, I had one Rancor and I am so excited that now I can get Rancors and I don't have to worry about like buying special promo boxes or anything else. And if you've not played with this card and you're not very familiar with it, you gotta give it a try. This card is freaking amazing. Okay, Tarlan's Invocation. Talrand's Invocation. It costs 4, but it gives you 2/2 blue Drake creatures of flying. 2/2 blue Drake. Yeah, okay. Anyway, it's great because it's an army in a box, right? And the fact that it has flying is just amazing. I think that the deck and Duels of the Planeswalkers that sort of featured this card, it was actually sort of lackluster. I think that they should have just done a power out blue aggro. Would have been interesting had they made these like illusions, but I understand the whole the Drake theme. But I'm really pretty excited about this card to use it in certain functions, which I have not yet seen. I really like this card. The fact that you get a 1/1 soldier token and it's a 2/2 first strike for 3. There are a lot of 2/2 first strikes out there for 3 and white. This guy, I think, does really well in white because it does what white wants to do, which is output a lot of creatures, take advantage of things like Honor the Pure, and, just go aggro with all those little tokens and little dudes. So I really like this printing of white. And it's a common. This is a pretty amazing common, this green card. This 4/4 for 5 that has vigilance and reach. The fact that you give basically something, it costs 1 more than Giant Spider. It has 2 more power, vigilance, and reach. Like, this card is really, really good. And the fact that you can basically draw removal with it, just because it's like you can't really get around it. If you're basically facing a deck that features evasion, like you're gonna get a whole bunch of like little flyers out and try to fly through for damage. This guy's kind of a death knell for that sort of evasion strategy. So he's gonna draw removal, and the fact that he's so good at common, I'm really amazed at this guy. Anyway, Velborn Ghoul. I actually wish they kind of would have made him block, but I understand why they didn't, just because in a mono black deck, being able to block would make him a little bit too powerful. But that being said, I really like the sort of raised dead effect that he naturally has. I don't think that we've ever really seen this particular on like cards before. The fact that like it has a landfall that basically kicks it back to from your graveyard to your hand, that's pretty new. And he's not too good, he's not too bad. I think that he's pretty cool. Like, he's a pretty cool designed card. I'm really excited. Augur of Bolas. I know a lot of people that are really excited about this guy just because He's going to go search you up for an instant or sorcery card early on in the game because he costs 2 and he has the toughness of 3, which basically means that he'll block a grizzly, and not die. And so yeah, I know a lot of people are excited. I'm not really a blue mage too much, so his usefulness to me is not going to be much. But I think that he was a pretty exciting card for a lot of people, and I'm still probably going to end up using him. So he's pretty exciting design wise, I think. I think they did a good job. Another thing that I really appreciated, like they did a whole bunch of like simple designs that I really like in 2013 that you find a lot in the common and uncommon set. I think the uncommons and commons are just bam right on because everything that like every problem that any shade has had in the past, frozen shade all the way up to modern shades, is the fact that you always want more swamps. This guy gets you a swamp immediately. Liliana Shade goes and gets you a swamp. So, like, the fact that it acts as sort of like, mana, not fixing, filtering, not Excel, but just go get you another swamp is, like, good. I'm really happy that the Shade does that. Griffin Protector. It's a 2/3 for 4. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may get +1/+1 in turn. This guy's pretty amazing, especially with some of the token effects, like in Magic 13 and Innistrad. Like you can be attacking with a 4/5 easy, and you slap a ring and give this guy vigilance and like give him +1/+1 counters every turn. This guy's going to be nasty. He will draw removal for a common, and that's just awesome. That's what you want your commons to do. If they are going to draw removal, they're good fucking commons. I'm really excited about the fact that they have a 2/2 flyer bat that has the Highway Robber effect. Like, Highway Robber was good enough that I played him several times in basically Suicide Black, where I wanted to sort of negate some of the drawbacks, or where I wanted to like pick up some life to like pay life effects to draw cards, like something similar to like Greed or Necropotence or something like that. So, yeah, I'm really happy with this guy. I think he was a good place card. The fact that he sort of made Highway Robber obsolete, I guess I'm a little sad by that. But that being said, Highway Robber's a human, so it could still go in tribal decks, and there's not a lot of Bat Tribal, so you know, maybe in a few years when like Bat Tribal starts becoming a thing, I'll just appreciate this guy that much more. But as it is, Highway Robber could possibly just have effect in human tribal. I guess I never really thought about it that way, but it's interesting. Water Courser. This card was actually way better than I had anticipated when I played it in Limited because mostly where Exalted was concerned. I played this guy with Exalted and I would attack. He'd become a 4/5, and that would enable me to pump him up to like a 7/2 or something like that. Okay, and I was thoroughly impressed with this card. The fact that you do have ways to, get counters on it with a ring, or give it bonuses with Exalted, or do some of those other effects, and even like a simple enchantment like Divine Favor or whatever it is, where it gets +1/+3 and gains you 3 life. If you have this enchanted with that, like this guy can be pumped for quite a lot. So this guy ended up being a lot better than I expected. I was pretty pleased. The art's very curious. I like the art just because it's kind of wacky and weird. It's kind of cool to see like this water stream of water actually become this entity thing. But other than that, I was more impressed by this card than I thought I would be. I would suggest to give it a try because even if you just attack it as a 2/3, it could become a 4/5, a 5/1. So for 2 extra mana, so that's or a 4/1, sorry. So that's pretty good. Wow, Fireball at instant speed for 1 extra red. All the ones where I really want to use Fireball, I also want it to be instant speed. I don't know how it turned out that way, but like I use a lot of red activated abilities when I'm doing mana ramp, mostly because activated abilities usually like mana, and so they tend to go together. But the fact that I can basically decide at the end of my opponent's turn whether or not I'm going to use an activated ability or cast a fireball at their head and go for lethal during my next main phase is really amazing. And I'm looking at this card going, oh my god, like fireball at instant speed, fireball at instant speed. Like if you're an old time player, fireball at instant speeds are like, your bread and butter. And red's been really unexciting for me, like for the last few blocks. So I'm super excited by Volcanic Geyser. Switcheroo. I don't really know what I'm going to use Switcheroo for. I think it's very interesting. I really, really love the card art. I really like Kev Weber, or sorry, Kev Walker. But like I guess I'm going to use it for something lame. I'm probably going to exchange a really good creature that my opponent controls for a little dinky token that I control. That's probably what I'm going to do with it, but I'm sure there's like way more amazing things to do with it. But I think it's a really interesting card, so and I love the art. Whenever you play a creature with power 3 or greater, you may draw a card. This is going to go great in my beast deck, and that being said, it's a 4/4 for 5 that draws you cards. That's amazing. This guy is just good. Um, Chronomaton. It's a 1/1 for 1 that you can pay to put a counter on it. I think it's just sort of a blah defender. He'll be all right. I'm actually pretty excited just because um, it'll be amazing in my proliferate deck. I thought it was a sort of an interesting ability, and the fact is that artifacts have an availability to move a lot of +1/+1 counters. Like there's a lot of counter manipulation in Artifact. And the fact that you can do it in pretty much any color, you can even do it with green, so you can use it with your spikes or whatever. Like it's pretty interesting card. Bond Beetle come in and put +1/+1 counter. I like this guy. He's cute. He is cute. He like comes in the battlefield and he's going to become a 1/2 himself, or he's going to make your 4/4 trampler a 5/5 trampler, your 5/5 trampler that much better. And there's lots of like again counter manipulation. So and the fact that 2013 sort of has a sub bounce theme in green where you can bounce creatures back to your hand and replay them. Even in the Duels of Planeswalkers, like this guy was amazing in the Duels of Planeswalkers 2013 deck, where you could just like, if you wanted a cheap creature to bounce and replay, this was your guy. I mean, so I really like this guy. I thought it was a great design. Not so excited about this, but I have to basically mention a most honorable mention because it's a wonderful limited combat trick where they attack with their 2/2 flyer and you drop down a 3/3 flyer, or they attack with 3/3 flyer and you just block and you trade. Um, I got a little bit. I kept on getting Restoration Angels, so I got a little bit spoiled. So I'm not as excited about this card, but that being said, I do have to basically say in limited it's bomb. So make sure you play it. Tormund's Crypt. Interesting. I think that it really goes well with that whole zombie that we saw earlier that basically comes back to your hand with a swamp. I'm pretty excited about it as a reprint because it costs 0, it's artifact. I don't know. I've been using Tormund's Crypt for a long time, so I was pretty excited to see it come back because I've used it a long time. Gem of Becoming, I think, is interesting in the sense that it filters out your deck, thins your deck by 3 cards. It puts it into your hand, so that's not exciting. It's actually kind of costly because it costs 3 to activate, but I'm really interested in its ability. And also, I think it could be useful in cards where you really want to get domain and you want to focus on getting those 5 basic lands, and you really want to basically play green heavily because green heavy is going to get you those lands, and you could possibly just ramp a green and use a Gem of Becoming and get you your domain, kind of on the 3rd or 4th turn. So I think it's kind of cool. Like I think it's a design space that hasn't really been used. It basically goes and gets something other than green or forests, which is exactly what basically any domain deck really wants, is trying to get, because I mean, any domain deck's really going to probably going to play heavy green so that it can use the green search land spells to go get you your islands, your plains, your swamps, your mountains. So the fact that this does that, I think it gets you 3 of them like all at once, basically means that you don't really have to worry about trying to fix your mana base as much, especially for cheap domain decks, which I have tons of, like, just cheap, cheesy domain decks. So, a 3/3 hexproof beast. He's not really that exciting, but at the same time, like, it's amazing how annoying this guy is, and I think that it was a great design. Mind Sculpt puts set target opponent puts top 7 cards of his or her library into his graveyard. I think this is kind of an exciting card for mill decks that just need that little extra boost. Maybe you're going to copy the spell and put 14 cards into their graveyard. That would be exciting. There's a lot of interesting things that I can think you can see in this card, and basically in a limited format where you can draft now. Like, if you pick up 3 Mind Sculpts, like, that's a legitimate threat to, in a limited format. So that's kind of exciting. It's not Glimpse, but hell, it's pretty cool. A really cheap dragon, and there's like all kinds of weird things that you can do with dragons. There's the enchantments that pump it. There's ways to, like, buff it. There's a lot of things to do with dragons, and it has fire breathing. So, even on like third turn, you can basically pump it to be a 3/1 flyer. I'm pretty excited by this guy. He's not really. He doesn't play as well as you would think he does, just because you want to use other things with your mana. But since I do have the enchantment that basically pumps all my dragons, like, gives all dragons like +2/+2 or +3/+3, I can't remember. But he's a good guy. He's a good guy to add to your dragon tribal deck. He's a good add. So I'm actually really pretty excited about that, because I do have a couple of dragon tribal decks, and he's going to go in a couple of them. Tricks of the Trade, awesome and limited, just because, like, it can make any Grizzly Bear a 4/2, like, unblockable, right? And you can race against your opponent in a tough spot. And you can basically make an otherwise unopposed creature or unassuming creature a threat. Like, even like a 1/1 that becomes a 3/1 unblockable, and you start, putting your opponent on the clock, it's probably going to draw removal. That you're going to lose card advantage, obviously, because they're going to hit 2 for 1 unless it's a token. But, like, this card's actually pretty exciting in the sense that you really put your opponent on a clock. It's the Tricks of the Trade should be renamed opponent on the clock sort of thing. Like, it's kind of a cool card. I like it. It's a 2/1 bird that cannot attack unless you control a knight or a soldier. That being said, there are a lot of bird soldiers out there, and this guy is, amazing. He has a slight drawback. It's very, very slight, and otherwise, he's just an amazing card for this cost. Mindclaw Shaman. I do not know how this guy's going to turn out, but I am pretty excited by just the flavor. And the fact that he's sort of Nicol Bolas's pawn, and the fact that it could be potentially very good, because if you think about, like, what a lot of white-blue control decks will do, is that they'll try to get a lot of little creatures attack and kind of control the board, and they'll have Day of Judgments as their sort of backup plan if things get out of hand. If you can somehow play this guy and, like, play their Day of Judgment on them, like, that's a big swing in your favor. I don't really know how this guy's going to play. I think he's not going to play as well, because at 5 mana, if you're playing against control, they're probably going to have a counterspell. I don't know if there's really interesting cards in black that are going to be really that exciting, because when you pay a card without paying its mana cost, X is equal to 0, so Black Sun Zenith is not going to be exciting with this guy, and so on and so forth. So I just don't know, but I'm kind of excited just by what he does. Clock of Omens. I have a lot of decks that basically use artifact manipulation with Clock of Omens. I have a Chalice of Life deck that works wonderful with Clock of Omens. I have an Infinite Turn deck that uses Clock of Omens. Clock of Omens I use it in my Batterskull Golem deck. Clock of Omens is actually, like, really pretty useful, and if you haven't really given it a go, it's sort of a clunky card. It's kind of hard to work with a little bit. But that being said, Clock of Omens is a lot of fun if you can get it to go. So I would, for anybody who wants to try their hand at having a lot of fun with sort of a weird, wacky card, Clock of Omens is for you. Okay, Serra Angel, a 4/4 Vigilant Flyer. Am I excited by Serra Angel? I have tons of Sarah Angels. I'm not that excited by Sarah Angel, but let me tell you something. If you are newer to Magic, do not underestimate this card in Limited. And don't underestimate it in Constructed either. Like, there was one point where they stopped printing Sarah Angel because they thought it was just too good. Okay? Like, and the fact that it's uncommon means that you have a card that was once considered too good at uncommon. This card is good, okay? Do not underestimate Sarah Angel. I don't know why, but like I run into new players that like are really excited about other cards like a 2/2 flyer or a 3/3 flyer even, and they Sarah Angel's been around just for so long, and everybody sort of knows about it that it's just not exciting for them anymore. And I just have to say is that Sarah Angel's an amazing card. Like, yeah, she's been around for forever, and like she's a little bit like a old hooker with war paint on, nowadays. But that being said, she's got some moves. Uh, you can, yeah. Anyway, Roaring Primodox is a beast. Pretty excited about that because my beast deck really does need creatures that basically bounce pieces, and it's a 4/4 for 4. I think this has a lot of utility for gating. Obviously, duh, right? That's the obvious thing. What are you going to do with it? You're going to take advantage of come into play effects or leave the battlefield effects. Um, and murder. It's pretty exciting the fact that Magic is almost a 20-year-old game, and they've not used this design space, and that's why it doesn't have any flavor text. They wanted it to be very sort of iconic, destroy target creature. I mean, it was very much that way, why it was designed that way, and I do appreciate the design. I really do like the uncommons and the common design, the way that they were able to translate just really simple ideas over in this core set. I really appreciated it. I liked it a lot. That being said, I only got 2 murders in my entire box, so what the hell is up with that? What the fuck? Oh my goodness. But, yeah, that being said, a murder. It is cool. And that is it for my uncommons and commons honorable mentions. I did do a video on my rares, and if you want to do that, you can check out the links. I would like to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like it, and I hope that you have a good day, and I hope you have a better luck with your box than I did. There's a lot of things about my box that I wish were better, but you have a good day. Bye bye.